History is filled with legendary conquerors. Alexander, Caesar, Genghis Khan. We remember them for their lightning-fast campaigns and decisive victories. But what if I told you one of the greatest empire builders in history spent the first 30 years of his reign doing almost nothing? This is the story of Hammurabi, the king of Babylon, a ruler who mastered the art of patience and played the long game better than anyone else. His legendary code of laws is famous, but the story of how he built the empire that needed those laws is even more fascinating. It's a tale of diplomacy, espionage, and waiting for the perfect moment to strike. And it all began with him as just a minor king in a world full of giants. When Hammurabi took the throne of Babylon in 1792 BCE, his kingdom was small, insignificant even. Think of a tiny boat in a sea of warships. To his south lay the powerful kingdom of Larsa, ruled by the old and formidable King Rin-Sin, who had been on the throne for decades. To the north and east were the menacing forces of Eshnunna, and even more terrifying, the kingdom of Elal, a military powerhouse lurking just beyond the Zagros Mountains. And to the west, controlling the crucial trade routes, was the kingdom of Mari, led by its king, Zimri-Lim. Babylon was surrounded, outmanned, and outgunned. Any false move, any aggressive posture would have been suicide. A young, ambitious king might have been tempted to prove his strength, to launch a glorious but doomed campaign. But Hammurabi was different. He understood his position perfectly. His greatest weapon wasn't an army, but his mind. He knew he couldn't win by force, so he chose to win by waiting. Instead of sharpening swords, Hammurabi began writing letters. He initiated a flurry of diplomatic correspondence, forging alliances that seemed, on the surface, purely defensive. His most important relationship was with Zimri-Lim of Mari. The two kings weren't just allies. They became friends, addressing each other as brother in their letters. We know this from the incredible archives discovered at Mari, thousands of clay tablets that give us a front-row seat to ancient diplomacy. What brought them together? A common enemy, the aggressive expansion of Eshnunna, and the ever-present threat from Elam pushed Hammurabi and Zimri-Lim into a natural partnership. Their letters weren't just pleasantries. They were a sophisticated system of mutual support. They shared detailed intelligence reports on enemy movements, warned each other of shifting loyalties among smaller city-states, and coordinated their diplomatic strategies. In one famous exchange, they discussed troop movements from Eshnunna, essentially acting as each other's eyes and ears across Mesopotamia. This alliance was Hammurabi's lifeline. It protected his western flank and gave him a powerful partner, allowing him to focus on a different kind of warfare, building his kingdom from within. While his rivals, like the aging Rin-Sin of Larsa, poured their resources into maintaining vast armies and engaging in costly border skirmishes, Hammurabi invested in his own people. He knew that a strong kingdom was built on a foundation of prosperity and security, not just military might. He launched massive public works projects that transformed Babylon. He ordered the construction of new temples and the restoration of old ones, earning the favor of the gods and the priesthood. He heavily fortified his cities, building immense defensive walls like the one he named Rabidum, making Babylon a tougher nut to crack. Most importantly, he focused on agriculture, the lifeblood of his kingdom. He commissioned the digging of vast new canals to bring water to arid lands, turning deserts into fertile fields. One of his most famous canals was named Hammurabi is the abundance of the people. This wasn't just a fancy name. It was a statement of purpose. Every bushel of grain harvested, every new citizen fed, was a victory. His kingdom grew stronger, richer, and more stable, all while his enemies were slowly bleeding themselves dry through constant conflict. Hammurabi was playing chess while everyone else was playing checkers. But don't mistake his internal focus for ignorance of the outside world. Hammurabi was a master of intelligence gathering. The same diplomatic network he used to maintain his alliance with Mari doubled as a sprawling spy ring. His messengers and merchants were his agents, reporting back on everything they saw and heard. The clay tablets from Mari are filled with the fruits of this network. We can read reports detailing the exact number of soldiers in an Elamite army, the state of their supplies, and even the morale of their troops. Hammurabi knew which of his rivals' generals were competent and which were political appointees. He knew when a rival kingdom's treasury was running low, or when its subjects were growing restless from heavy taxation for war. He had a complete picture of the geopolitical landscape, not as it appeared, but as it truly was. He wasn't just waiting. He was watching, calculating, and learning the weaknesses of every single one of his opponents. He was like a patient predator, silently observing the herd, waiting for the one moment of weakness that would signal the perfect time to pounce. And after 30 years, that moment finally arrived. The catalyst for chaos was Elam. For decades, the Elamites had been the great destabilizing force in the region. And in the 30th year of Hammurabi's reign, they launched a massive invasion. They swept down from the highlands, shattering the kingdom of Eshnunna and threatening to overwhelm all of Mesopotamia. The old balance of power was broken in an instant. Faced with this existential threat, the warring states of Mesopotamia did something they had never done before. They united. A grand coalition was formed, including Hammurabi of Babylon, Zimri-Lim of Mari, and even the old king Rin-Sin of Larsa. Together, they managed to push back the Elamite tide and repel the invasion. It was a stunning victory. But for Hammurabi, the real opportunity wasn't in defeating Elam. It was in the chaos that followed. The grand coalition, its purpose served, immediately fell apart. His allies were exhausted, their armies depleted, their treasuries empty. This was the moment. The 30 years of waiting were over. Hammurabi had the strongest, most prosperous, and most well-rested kingdom in the region. His enemies had just revealed all of their weaknesses. And just like that, the patient diplomat vanished and the ruthless conqueror emerged. With stunning speed, Hammurabi turned on his former allies. His first target was the one who had ruled for 60 years, the old wolf of the south, Rim-Sin of Larsa. The kingdom that had once overshadowed Babylon was now vulnerable, and Hammurabi showed no mercy. He then systematically dismantled the remaining powers, including, in a shocking betrayal, his old friend and ally, Zimri-Lim of Mari. Within just a few years, the minor king who had spent 3 decades carefully building his strength had conquered all of Mesopotamia. He had united the land from the Persian Gulf to the borders of Syria, forging the first great Babylonian empire. The long game had paid off. Hammurabi's story is a powerful lesson that strength isn't always about brute force. It's about strategy, patience, and knowing when to act. He built an empire not just with soldiers, but with canals, granaries, and spies. But now that he had this vast, multicultural empire, how would he rule it? How do you govern dozens of different cities with different laws and different gods? That question would lead to his most enduring legacy, a monument of justice carved in stone that would echo through millennia. And that is where our story will pick up next time. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to subscribe for the next chapter in the Epic of Hammurabi.